Rams house. Welcome into a brand new episode of the Rams Report by Chat Sports. And happy Monday. Today we're going to be breaking down a draft day trade idea that's coming our way from ESPN. They're putting out a little bit of an article with a draft day trade idea for every single pick in the first round. So obviously not all of these are going to happen. There's a chance none of these happen, but it's always something interesting to think about. And we know that Les Snead told us trading up isn't an option for the Rams, but trading down definitely is. So let's get into today's show with a little bit of a run of show before we do. The trade idea is going to be up first, as of course, we're going to break down exactly what he's proposing, and then we're going to get into the options after the trade, because since we've moved down to a new pick, we'll need to talk about who we would be able to select at that new pick, whether or not we'd even be able to, or want to move down there to begin with. And then that's where we'll get to as we finish this, is my verdict on this. What do I think? And then I'll ask you guys, what do you think about the whole trade idea? Before we get into today's show, I want to hear from you. If you want more draft content, let us know by slapping a like on today's video. Send the message to me and to the bosses here at Chat Sports that Rams draft content is needed in bunches, and we will get back in the studio. We will film some more videos for you guys. We got 7-round mock drafts cooked up for this week. We had one go out last week that you can absolutely go check out after you watch this one. But slap a like on today's video. That's a huge way to communicate us that this one was enjoyed and we need to make more videos just like it. But here's Bill Barnwell's move for you guys. So it's a first-round pick swap, obviously. We're moving back 5 spots, giving up the 13th overall pick. Remember, we had that from Atlanta in last year's draft day trade that we made with them to move out of the first round. And then we'll pick up Minnesota's 18th overall pick, their third-round pick, or one of their 2 third-round picks, their 97th overall selection, and backup quarterback J.J. McCarthy, first-round pick, 10th overall in the 2024 class, comes over as a bit of a cherry on top in this thing. Here was Bill Barnwell's explanation, or at least part of his explanation of the trade, so we can hear what his idea behind it was. We know general manager Les Snead doesn't value picks in the bottom quarter of the first round. So the Rams aren't likely to move down very far if they do trade down here. And while Snead is obviously going to want to use his remaining first-round pick to address the 2026 roster, there is also an argument to be made for trying to land his team's quarterback of the future. Stafford is 38 years old. He won league MVP last season. But with any quarterback approaching 40, it's smart to have a backup plan in place. Absolutely it is. And we'll touch on that more in just one second. But first, let's hear the breakdown of how this trade values out. So Minnesota gets 336 points by virtue of receiving the 13th overall pick by the Rich Hill trade chart. The rest of the trade equates to 325 points of value for us coming back from Minnesota. And that means J.J. McCarthy is valued by Minnesota in this instance as 11 points worth of draft point value, or in other words, equivalent to about a mid-5th round pick, like the 176th overall selection. So you can essentially either change JJ out for another 5th round pick if you hate the idea of JJ McCarthy. I know we've talked about that before, but I don't think you guys should. I know it wasn't super popular when we talked about trading for JJ McCarthy. I know he has not been the best player at the NFL level, but this depth chart needs another option. As of right now, Jimmy's not back. I know he's there right now, but he's an unrestricted free agent. So it's a question mark at this point. Is Jimmy coming back? Is Jimmy going to be there next season? Because as of right now, it's just Stafford and Stetson. Just those 2 guys in the quarterback room. And I think bringing Jimmy isn't off the table, but if he doesn't want to come back, if he does get an opportunity somewhere else, because, guys, that's what he's waiting on at the end of the day. He's waiting for Pittsburgh to figure out their quarterback situation. Is Aaron Rodgers going to retire? Is that going to be an opportunity for him to potentially step in as a starter? If that does happen, which, hey, at this point, trying to figure out what Aaron Rodgers is going to do is not a game that I'm going to play. So we're just going to wait at this point. But we have to be ready. We have to have other things in place. And Jimmy G is not a long-term answer. Even if he does come back for this season, I don't think that prohibits you from making a move for something that could be. And J.J. McCarthy, like it or not, absolutely has the upside to be the long-term answer. Do I think that's going to happen? I don't know. But he's worth taking a chance on at the value of a 5th-round pick. That, I think, is 100% clear. We saw that in the final 4 games of last season. We saw him take that step forward. We saw the potential that does exist with J.J. McCarthy. Was he great? No. Was he serviceable? Absolutely. Is he still incredibly young? Yes. That, I think, is the number one thing. Coming over, working with Sean McVay, I know it's not a huge change of system. It's not like an entire change of pace, but it's a new coach to work with him. Someone who's had a lot of success with reclamation project quarterbacks. Guys like Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff when he first got here. Think about what Jared Goff was when Sean McVay lands with the Los Angeles Rams. Coming off that 2016 year with Jeff Fisher, where Goff was bad, the Rams were bad, everybody viewed him as a bust. Everybody said that the Rams were stupid for passing on Carson Wentz to take Jared Goff. And what happened? Jared Goff figured it out. Of course, it doesn't last long term, but JJ would be able to at least be in a situation that gives him the best possible chance to succeed, in my opinion. And if you want to rep the Rams this offseason, we have the shirt for you, my friends. To change pace a little bit right here, I'm repping my Heart Snatcher shirt today, and you can absolutely rep yours too. It's our guy Matthew Stafford, a reference to the wild card playoff win when he told Devontae Adams, let's go snatch these guys' hearts, and then they went out and did exactly that against the Carolina Panthers, and we love that moment so much here at Chat Sports, we turned it into a shirt. And Arnold, our designer, did a fantastic job with this one. Stafford just looks so sick on this t-shirt. It is my favorite shirt that I currently own. And you can own one too at the link below, chatsports.com/heart. So pick up your Heart Snatcher shirt today and let me know that you did. Tag me on social media. I love seeing when you guys post these things. It's super, super cool. Really makes my day. So shout out to those of you that already have. And if you do pick one up or have already picked one up, post with it and tag me on social media. I'll shout you out in our next episode. But let's keep rolling here. So the other advantage that you get here that we haven't even really talked about is the additional third. Obviously, you've moved back a couple spots in the first, so you still have a first-round pick, 18. We'll talk about that one in a minute. But the additional third from Minnesota is massive as well, because that's something that we've talked about a lot, right? We have 3 picks as of right now before you make this move in the top 100. This takes you to 4. This is an additional pick in the top 100, adding that 97th overall. And hell, he went with 97 in this trade. Worth noting, in my opinion, Minnesota is also holding 82. And I think trade or less, he could push for 82. You know what I mean? I think Les Snead could get a deal done that involves 82 instead of 97. That other third-round pick that Minnesota is holding, if he's really, really able to drive a hard bargain and push for that one. So maybe that 97 actually looks like 82. But let's talk about 18 right now and who might be available there, because we've talked a lot about who's going to be available for us at 13, who might be in play at 13. That's your Mekhi Lemons. That's maybe your Carnell Tates, Jordan Tyson, all those options that we've discussed. But who's in play at 18? So to do this, and the numbers that I'm going to show you here, these availability odds, they come our way via Underdog. Super cool tool that Underdog has is this ability to look at the last 1,000 plus mock drafts that they have. I think it's like 1,800 mock drafts that they have, almost 2,000. And it'll tell you in what percentage of those was any player available at any pick. So I used the 18th overall pick. Jordan Tyson available in 23% of the last almost 2,000 Underdog mocks. Is that a perfect metric? No, but it's a decent kind of evaluation. It's worth some salt there on whether or not Jordan Tyson might be in that range. That's higher than I thought, to be completely honest with you. The idea that we could get an option like Tyson, who we've talked about a lot as being one of the options we should be interested at 13, but 18 honestly feels a lot more comfortable to me. Because if you know me on Jordan Tyson, the number one thing that scares me to death about this dude, and it has nothing to do with his on-the-field stuff, I think field talent, unbelievable. Like, absolutely certified first-round pick, absolutely certified excellent route runner, just looks like a day one strong wide receiver who could fit in a lot of offenses. But the injury issues scare you to death. They have to. This guy has missed significant time in 3 of his last 4 seasons of college play, including a couple really devastating injuries that'll affect you long term. So that, I think, picking him at 18 versus 13 does settle you down a little bit. Of course, the injuries still are a concern there, but the talent is overwhelming, and he would by far be the best player available, at least when in terms of things that we need at 18. Next up, though, Kenyon Sadiq. Sadiq, I know a lot of you guys love him at 13. I think it's a little rich to go tight end when our room is that good, but at 18, and with him being available in 79% of the last 2,000 underdog mocks, something that feels very realistic. I feel like his only real strong possible landing spot before this would either be, or 2, I guess, would be us at 13 if we didn't trade down, and Tampa Bay at 15. Those are the 2 strong landing spots that are possible for Sadiq before 18. So if you were to trade back, he feels like maybe the most likely possibility for the Rams. And I'm okay with that at 18 because, again, this is a guy who presents as just a generational athlete. You know, I'm not saying he's a generational tight end prospect. I'm not going to throw that word around for him in that terms, but he's undeniably a generational athlete. We just don't see guys like this at this size with this kind of athletic profile. And I know the production numbers are not overwhelming, but you got to consider in 2024, who was he behind? Our boy T-Ferg. Terrence Ferguson was playing in front of him in 2024 as the number 1 option. He ends up going as an early 2nd-round pick. And Kenyon Sadiq was still able to get his that year, 24 receptions, 308 yards, and 2 tutties, playing behind a guy who was considered to be a potential first-round draft pick. And then this year he comes out and has 500 yards in an offense that had a ton of strong options at receiver and tight end. So really, really productive when you consider the context. Casey Concepcion, lastly, and almost certainly going to be available in this area, and feels like a really good option to land with the Rams in general. I've seen, I think it was AJ Schulte on Twitter tweeted out yesterday that he is his number 1, or that Casey Concepcion is his number 1 receiver for the Rams, that he would take him at 13. And that's rich for me, but I do totally get it, right? At the end of the day, KC just kind of matches what we need, especially if you want to move Puka back to outside receiver. I feel like KC ends up being a long-term slot contributor. And I know some of you guys are not fond of the idea of doing that, but I think Puka presents a ton of value to you no matter where you use him. It's just really about how he can make others better about where he's used, because you know he's going to get his no matter where he's playing. So if KC's best in the slot, then that just pushes Puka back to the outside. I really don't think that's a negative for Puka, or I don't think there really are that many negatives for Puka depending on the alignment of other players, I guess, if I'm making that point. But KC comes in as just an unbelievable after-the-catch guy. I think that's the number 1 thing you need to think about with him is what he can create for you after the catch. And I feel like that's something that outside of Puka, we don't really have in this offense. He's a solid deep threat, replaces what you lost in Tutu as well. He's not quite that fast, but he can absolutely stretch the field. He can absolutely create for you in that way. And all 3 of these options are guys that I love. All 3 of these guys are prospects that I love the idea of taking. I wouldn't even be mad if the Rams came away with any of these 3 guys at 13. Maybe it's a little early for Casey Concepcion. Maybe I'd give that pick a B- because you went a little early, but I love the prospect. Kenyon Sadiq, I'm going to give that a B+. A little early, but I love the prospect. And Jordan Tyson, I give that an A- because the injury issues are really the only thing that make him not an unbelievable prospect. At the end of the day, if these are the guys that are available, I would make this move down with the Minnesota Vikings every single day of the week. Because you're telling me we get upside depth at quarterback, and we'll go through everything that we get. But I just want to hear from you before we go through everything that we get. Would you make this move? Would you make this trade with the Minnesota Vikings? Before we break down every single thing, I want to hear from you. Would you make this move? Like today's video if you would, if you're our team, trade. If your team pass, I got to hear why. I need you to let me know why. It can't just be no. I need an explanation in the comments. So let me know why you would pass on this one. But if your team trade like I am, if you see the value in this, then like today's video. And if you haven't liked yet, I'm going to break down all the ways the Rams win right now. And if I change your mind, go slap that like on there for me. So here's the 3 major ways I see you win. Number 1, you stay in position to add a playmaker and do exactly what you were already going to do at 13 anyway. Looking for that third option for this offense behind Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. Whether that looks like Kenyon Sadiq, Casey Concepcion, Mekhi Lemon, Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson. There are a number of great options to fill that role. And at least one of the names that I just listed is going to be available for you at 18, even if you move down from 13. Of course, almost all of them will be available for you at 13, so you have your pick of the litter, and you're probably going to lose 2 on the way to 18, but some of those names are going to be available for you at 18, and if you can live with the idea that the Rams would add any of them, then you are winning in this position. You are still getting exactly what you wanted in terms of a high upside playmaker in the first round, and you're also adding an extra third-round pick, an extra pick in the top 100. Remember, we have 3 right now. This would bring you to 4, and you still have 4 in the bottom 200 as well, which is just kind of an odd split of draft picks, and still having a chance to use one of those 4 to move up and get another pick in the middle rounds. So this continues to bring you out of the late rounds, which we know Les Snead says are not valuable, which Les Snead says the Rams do not see a ton of value in. That's why they traded day 3 draft capital for Trent McDuffie, because they don't think there's that many great players later on in this draft class. So look for that move up. Look for them to continue to try to invest their draft capital early in this one and out of the late rounds. And then lastly, I mentioned this briefly, you get the low price QB depth with a ton of upside that you're looking for, that you do not currently have on this roster. Maybe you bring Jimmy G back. Maybe Jimmy G's the real backup, even if you do bring J.J. McCarthy into this team. But I think we can all agree at this point that Stetson Bennett is not viewed by the Rams as a successor to Matthew Stafford. The way they've spoken about him, or really, to be honest with you, rather have not spoken about him. Think about that Kay Adams interview with Sean McVay, where she asks him, she says, you don't have a backup quarterback right now. What does he say? You're right. Yes, I agree. They don't view Stetson as the option. They don't view Stetson as the answer. There's other answers out there, and whether or not that's JJ, I hear you, but at least you have something. At least you have a future option. I don't think it prohibits you from doing anything else, too, because you've gotten it at the value of a 5th-round pick. All 3 of these reasons are reasons why this trade would be a huge win for the Los Angeles Rams, in my opinion. But again, I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about this move? Let me know in the comments. If you wouldn't make it, give me your reason why. And if you are making this trade, slap that like on today's video. And if you haven't already joined our RAMILY here, hit that subscribe button as well. And make sure you stay up to date on all the Rams news and Rams rumors you need. Like I said, we are your one-stop shop for Rams draft content around here. We're doing all sorts of Rams mock drafts and projecting out what the Rams might do. So stay tuned. We got another one of those coming for you later this week. And as always, let's go Rams.